share something a little bit different to the others tonight, but there's a little bit of a wellness and a bit of a theme of people finding their voices tonight. So I wanted to add a little bit of something from the wellness side of things. A lot of what I've done with people the last several years is working with them around their mindset and getting past the stuff that gets in the way when you want to show up as a leader. So, there we go. So, why is it so important for us at this point in time, in particular, to really master our public speaking and our leadership? I feel like it's such a time on the planet right now where there's so much going on, where there's critical change time, where technology is moving in one particular direction. There's always concern about the climate from whatever angle that you look at that, whether you look at it from the carbon angle or you look at it simply from the angle of species becoming extinct because of our way of life and our disposable way of life. This is going to become a thing in the next several decades. Depression is at an all-time high. Lifestyle-related illness is at an all-time high. We're more connected than ever, yet we're more disconnected from each other somehow than ever, and people are lonelier than ever. So it's really important at this time that I genuinely believe that every one of us on the planet is here with a purpose. We have a unique message to share. We have a unique piece of the puzzle to the global picture to put forward and present. Each one of us has an opportunity to do that. But sometimes at the individual level, it gets really sad when these people who are so beautiful and amazing, who have this amazing gift to share, who have these amazing messages to share, end up getting stuck thinking, but I'm not enough, but what are people going to think of me? But maybe I don't know enough, but maybe I don't have the right qualifications, or whatever the thing is, or whatever the story was, whatever the trauma was from when we were a kid, or wherever it came from, that we end up getting stuck in this place of, I don't know if I can do it. And that's such a shame right now because we're so needed. All of our wisdom and our expertise, whatever it is so needed right now. So part of the thing I'm very passionate about is helping people to find their groove so as they can stand up here and they can own that space as who they are, like Mandy was talking about, find their authenticity and share from that place. That's why I do this. And so what I wanted to introduce you to tonight is 12 particular things that I think are really important for just helping us to take the stress out of speaking. A lot of these things are going to be kind of like, when you look at it, you'll think, oh, that's kind of obvious, right? But when we get so busy, when we get caught up in the corporate hustle and we get busy with our work and family and everything's going on, it's easy to forget and deprioritize it. Yeah. So tonight's to serve in some ways as a little reminder, as well as to give you perhaps maybe a few extras, and there will be a PDF that you can take home at the end of this too. So this one, kind of important, huh? We need to do it, but in the West, we grow up these days in a way where we're born as diaphragmatic breathers. We breathe deep. But by the time we grow up, we end up these thoracic breathers who only breathe a little bit into here. And the trouble with that is that if you're only taking these short breaths and these deep breaths into this little place up here, it actually activates your sympathetic nervous system. In other words, your fight-flight response. So it's sending you into a state of stress. And then you get this chicken or the egg thing that goes on of what comes first. Is it the thoughts, if we think about our mindset, that we get stressed and then we start breathing shallow? Or is it that we are in the habit of breathing shallow and then that sends us into a state of stress and then we start to feel stressed? So learning how to breathe deeply again. We were doing some lovely work, Anna and I, with Graham this weekend on breath through yoga. And we talked a lot about breathing techniques and just learning how to breathe deep further down into yourself, but also to be able to exhale and really just let that drop into your exhale and let that go. It helps activate the opposite to the fight flight. That helps us relax instead. So that's a key one. Breathing helps us get on top of like not activating the stress when we know how to do that properly. Getting enough water. Now, this one's easy to do to get busy and not have enough. And again, this becomes challenging because if you're not getting enough water, you're not detoxing properly, you can't regulate your temperature properly. Concentration gets cloudy. If we move towards more moderate dehydration, then you start to have a whole heap of other symptoms like dry mouth and dizziness potentially when you stand up, and lots of other things, all the way down to when it gets really severe, when it's hot, and then all of a sudden we go into shutdown. You can go completely into a coma if your body completely can't cope anymore. That's the absolute extreme. But in the interim, it's good just to remember not to send our body into a state of stress if we can keep up our water content. However we want to do that, sometimes that might be if you're sitting at a desk and you're doing a lot, or you're on the road. It might be setting a reminder in your phone to remind yourself, literally, I need to take a break right now. It might be making sure you always have a bottle with you, a glass at your desk, whatever the thing is, helping you to make sure that you get that water up. Now, so we're up.
Speaking of water.
Speaking of water.
That is a reminder. I feel refill mine. Do you want some? Can I offer you some?
All good, thank you. I got one. It's all good. Third, health check. So this could be with your GP. This could be with an integrated medicine practitioner. This could be with someone who's a naturopath like Anna. There are several aspects. This could be with someone like Gra, who knows more about TCM wisdom, acupuncture. There's multiple ways to get into this, but the point is to have an assessment done of your body so you can start to just know where you're at with like your blood sugar, know where you're at with thyroid function, where your hormones are at, where your nutrient and vitamin levels are at, and things like that. Always good just to do this every now and then, just so you know, because some of those things can be, on a regular basis, they can be causing us stress. If we've got a particular imbalance with some nasty bacteria that's in our gut, or suppose we're eating tons of sugar in our diet all the time and then we get candida, all these things can add to our stress because bugs, being the clever little things that they are, they help us. They help produce some compounds that we can't produce ourselves, but the bad ones are also very clever at sending messages to you to tell you that you're freaking out when they're freaking out. So when candida's hungry, for example, it'll make you feel anxious, so that you eat sugar so that you feed it, little things like that. So it's handy to know about aspects of your gut health. Also, inflammation is a big part of that. The more inflamed our gut is, the harder it is for it to function properly, for us to absorb everything as we need to. And so gut health is something we want to get on top of. In terms of minerals, for example, as it contributes to stress, as it may impact our speaking. For example, every single one of these, well, I wouldn't recommend that you necessarily buy these brands, but these brands are probably familiar to you, so I popped up this photo. Iron, for example, if your iron levels are low, particularly for females of menstruation age, one of the ways iron deficiency shows up is anxiety. Your resilience goes down, you feel tired, but you feel anxious. Magnesium is the literal off switch for muscle contraction, so when we're deficient in that, behaviourally our moods are different and we can't relax in the same way. So magnesium is a good one. I had some magnesium this morning. Mandy and I think some other people I was talking to recently were saying it's part of our speaking strategy is making sure we've got enough magnesium going on in our diet. Speaking of inflammation, omega-3 is a brilliant thing. Part of what elevates or makes mental illness worse is inflammation in the brain as well as in the gut. Omega-3 is great for helping reduce that inflammation, which means that we can function better. B group vitamins, for example, have roles in they don't give us energy themselves, but they help us metabolize energy from sugars, from alcohol, from fats. They're also involved in having healthy nerves, healthy brain function, in some cases healthy hormonal production. So having B group vitamins, particularly when we're busy and we're active and we're doing a lot, keeping up our supply of B group vitamins is really important to perform at our best. Which is why they always tell you that's an executive stress formula. B group vitamins, just a reminder as to why we might want those. So yeah, that's those. Detox. So this is a little bit more about what we can take out of our world that might be causing us some form of stress. That if we're talking about all the forms of stress that are cumulative, by the time you come to an event like this where you've got to speak there, this is about getting on top of having a think about what am I engaging with every day and how's it actually impacting my mood and how I feel and my stress levels. For example, media, like news, social media, it's all very well us watching it, but is it giving us a negative, biased worldview? Like my dad, for example, would watch a lot of news in the country and then is ringing me all the time going, don't get shot today. And I'm like, Dad, nobody gets shot in Melbourne on a regular basis in Melbourne because he watches so much news, he thinks everybody's running around shooting everyone in corners. So you've got to be careful not to have that biased. Those things can bias our perspective. Social media, I think, we're more and more aware of. It's very, very manipulated. Facebook, for example, like all the feed is cultivated. You don't see all your friends, you don't see all the posts you need to. It's so cultivated. And the stuff in there is biased in a particular direction. In terms of your environment, what's in your house, Marie Kondo style even, like is it adding to joy? Is there clutter there? Is it adding to your sense of stress? Can we get on top of it? What we ingest, literally in terms of sugar, alcohol, any form of recreational drugs or anything like that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, it just can have implications for sugar, can mess up our biochemistry and our hormones, it can mess up our insulin levels. Alcohol prevents other processes from happening. When you're processing alcohol, fat cells are open, but they can't let things go. So there's just all kinds of flow from all the things that we eat, there can be flow on. So it's just being accounting for those. And also what we apply to ourselves in terms of synthetic deodorants or anything that's chemical. It all goes into us and all impacts our biochemistry on the inside. It can change it, it can mess with our hormones, it can change our biochemistry and change our biological processes. So giving some consideration to all of that helps us get on top of another source of potential stress that's becoming cumulative on us. Movement, love this girl, she's dancing, I love dance. But it's always the thing, any form of exercise where we're getting our heart rate up a bit, and continuously so we get that beautiful euphoria afterwards because we're getting our serotonin up and we're getting ourselves out of that negative adrenaline stressed state. Anna and I went for a hike recently. By the end of the day, I'd been a bit down before that. By the end of that day of us just walking the entire day, I was on a high for 2 weeks just because of the impact it had on the biochemistry, and stress and anxiety was just kind of non-existent for those 2 weeks after that. So don't underestimate the impact that, even if it's not like you're doing 20 laps of swimming, any form of movement that you do as you love it, whatever's the thing for you, is hugely influential in terms of managing your stress and also helping you sleep better when you exercise, your metabolism works better, lots of other things happen better. So movement is handy. Intention. So this is in part about managing our mindset, but it's also about, there's a brilliant thing that one of my mentors, who's a speaker trainer, one of the world's leading top 10 speakers and one of his speakers within his program, Matt Church, in their book Speakership, they say replace nervous with service. So replace feeling nervous with the attitude of being of service. And that's one that I found after I did a lot of my initial healing on my trauma that was really impacting me getting in front of a room. I found replace nervous with service was huge for me, just to be like, oh yeah, that's right. Every time I get in front of a room, it's not about me, it's about being of service to the people in that room. So if I just focus on and allow myself to become aligned with that, then that can be immensely helpful. Right there, just, reshifting our intention around that can reduce. Oh, let's drop that one. There we go. Apologies. There we go. Yeah. Manage life. This is about the awkward stuff that we really don't want to deal with that's going on, but we'd really rather run for the hills and not deal with it and not look at it because, we've got this speaking thing coming up, but, there's things happening at home or our partner's going nuts about this one thing. And of course it's right before you've got the really important event or the speaking thing or whatever it is that all of a sudden your attention's not on them, and that's when the thing happens. That's when the conflict can burst into being, and they're noticing that your attention's not on them. If ever there's going to be a time where something's going to go on, it's going to be when you're about to speak or you're about to launch an event or a program or something important. It's amazing how working with clients the last several years, it just happens all the time. And it's a thing we've got to learn to deal with and contextualise. And to deal with it in a healthy way, it may not be that you deal with the bulk of it before the event happens, but it might be just talking to that person to sort of say, I totally hear you, I know something's going on and I really want to work with you on that, but I don't have the headspace to do this right now, but I will on Thursday. Can we sit down and have a chat about it then, and we'll totally work through it and I'll be completely with you on that. So sometimes it's just about managing, for example, with relationships or whatever the other imitation busy things are. Sometimes there's things that sort of show up that present themselves as busy, but in terms of our priorities, are they really busy? Sometimes it's just about managing those things and getting the awkward stuff out of the way, so as we've got our energy free to focus on the speaking thing that we're here to do, and then it's not in the background kind of worrying us as well that that thing, I'm going to have to deal with that, and it's not resolved yet. This is how we get our headspace back. Rest. Everything is better when we get enough sleep. Our metabolism functions better, our creativity is better, our focus is better, we perform better in life, we cope better in life. When we're exhausted and never getting enough sleep, we feel overwhelmed and stressed. So we all know that we're supposed to get enough sleep, but this is just about making sure that we have a decent routine that makes sure that we can do that and we can prioritise that, as well as during the day. That might be, again, about prioritising rest breaks, time, as Mandy was mentioning, to do little meditations, walks in nature, things that in terms of going back to the detox piece, for example, like when we're sitting in buildings in Wi-Fi signals all day long, and we didn't evolve with that, sometimes it's good to just give ourselves 10 minutes out with a tree or at the beach or somewhere out in nature, so as we can just resume our natural rhythm, do some breath work, meditate a bit. And that can be the difference, particularly in some of the high-stress case management roles and things I've done in the past where people were dying or there was quite intense trauma was going on in some of those roles. I found that those rest breaks were the difference between me needing to have a Red Bull or some sugary snack or something. Sometimes just having that rest break and just coming back into yourself, because you can get really sort of out of yourself, get a bit dissociated when you're in fight-flight mode, and part of you sort of separates from yourself a little bit to cope. Just taking a rest break and time to breathe. Maybe even have a Barocca as opposed to a sugary thing with some B group vitamins in it, as like, you know, to give you a bit of a boost. That's really important, just having those little rest breaks. Again, on reducing, totally, it's like a reset button to come back to us. And you can even intend to, like I have a little 3-step meditation process that's literally about reconnecting to you, imagining you're like your body's like a battery on your mobile phone, like the little icon, filling yourself up completely with the energy of you and your soul again, letting go of everything that's not you, that you don't need to carry forward, that you've taken on in the world, in the busy world of busyness. Letting that go, and then setting an intention around, okay, so what do I want to be going forward, what do I want to experience, and who do I want to share that with? Which brings us to support. So again, this is, especially in the lead up to events, very important to just have a great inner support circle and find one when we come to new cities. It's like finding our group of people who have our backs no matter what, and that we can, when you're coming to an event like this, if you are getting nervous or if something happens with the food, for example, or something like that, that you can call them and go, hey, help, or hey, I just need to talk to someone right now. It's sometimes, like, I think we underestimate the importance of having that. I've had a bit of transition in my world the last few years where there's been a lot of people leave, and I've really been more appreciative than ever of how precious support systems are and the people are who are really close to us. We need that. Humans need connection. It's one of our primary needs. And it certainly helps us in terms of oxytocin production and our mood and feeling loved and supported. It's huge, having a beautiful group of people around us who support us. So in terms of reducing stress, that's really important, having go-to people. Pre-event, as Mandy was saying earlier, can't underestimate the importance of making time to plan out your presentation, to learn a way to do that really well. For me, I've done a lot of mentoring, been mentored by and done mentoring for partners within a particular business that has one of the most genius content creation and brilliant ways to pull your IP out of you and put it on paper. I've been working with them for the last few years, and I kind of draw upon that system in my planning. And then in terms of the practice, as Mandy was saying about getting the hairspray can or whatever it is that you're doing, me coming from a performing arts background as well, I take over the lounge room and I just, I have conversations as though there's a room of people there. And that is like, that rehearsal is just such, even if you don't know it yet, even when you're starting to plan a piece, if you stand in your lounge room and kind of go, hey, what is it that I know about this? And then just try talking and just seeing what comes out of you as though there are people in the room with you. Maybe you invite some people to the room with you and then you back and forward for a bit. And then you take notes, or you can record it on your phone at the same time. It helps you kind of start dumping out all that content where you put it in structure. For me, tonight it was really easy to put this together because of the systems I've been taught of creating information. Now I capture, when I learn something, when I do research, I capture those ideas, I put them on these specific sheets. And when it comes to something like this, I just go, great, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, now I've got a presentation. And it's really easy. So planning and practice, beautiful combination, and then finally leading up to actually preparing your pre-speaking routine. Can't underestimate the importance of this. When I was doing performing arts back when I was in performing arts school at uni and was doing live theatre on a regular basis, I found, and I've still carried this forward both in speaking at events, running events, and running 7-figure business owner people's events this last several years. These particular things, if you get on top of these, it can really help. So in terms of reducing your stress, So the logistical things. This is about knowing what's going to go on at the venue, and if you're speaking at a conference or something like this, that's about finding out what the run sheet is, what the process is, what's going to be required of you in advance, so you're not getting there on the day going, oh my God, I have no idea what's going to happen, what I'm supposed to do, which adds to your stress on the day, right? So it's working out those logistical things. It might also be working out at the venue where you can go if you need some chill time before. So just thinking about those things in terms of, so what do I need in terms of personal space or being with people before an event? How can I logistically manage that? It might also be doing run-throughs at the stage. It might also be you going out testing, doing sound checks or any of that kind of thing. Whatever as it relates to the thing that you're doing. Or if you're managing the event yourself, it might be just doing run-throughs, rehearsals with people or having conversations that get that clear for you so you're not stressed about it and you feel like it has structure. Physical is drawing upon the things we've already talked about in terms of your well-being. Now it's just applying it before the event. Anna and I were talking about the other day, sometimes, like food-wise, it's good to just eat sort of protein and vegetables in terms of meals, not having excessive amounts of alcohol or even sugar or caffeine right before you speak. Anything that's a stimulant that's going to get you really worked up. We want to manage, make sure that you're not having too much of that before you speak, because it's going to send you into overactivated mode. Yeah. And yeah, so in terms of anything like that, and not trying any new supplements or any things that somebody says at the event, oh, here, this stuff really works for me. Don't try it for the first time right before you speak. Because, like, for example, there's one beautiful thing that I tested with Anna recently, this beautiful calm mind powder, which is amazing, but if I have too much of that at the wrong time, when I've worked out what is going on, like I took it at 3:30 in the morning when I was awake one morning, I woke up feeling really groggy at 7 in the morning, but it wasn't just because of that, it was because all of a sudden my adrenaline levels were down and I was feeling the exhaustion that was underneath. So, like, that was a part of, so, just being mindful of testing new things like that might mess with you. The last thing you want is to be taking rescue remedy or some new thing that somebody said this is amazing for helping you be calm before you speak, but then you're on stage and you've got this bodily reaction going on that you feel out of control. It adds to your stress. So don't try anything new right before you speak. Make sure you test it in advance. Mental, again, that's coming back to our intention, being of service. It may also support some people, depending on where you're at. Either you might want time to yourself, or maybe you're somebody who likes to walk around with a group and talk to people beforehand, ask them questions, be busy helping and being of service. That can be helpful in that respect. Like I said, having people you can call on right before you need to if you freak out, or just for the connection. Hey honey, I'm about to go on. Like, just wanted to connect with you, and maybe they might give you some words of encouragement or whatever it is. But drawing on those people. And spiritual, again, is about remembering our higher purpose within this, and remembering we belong on this stage and we're here for a reason. That's what we're here for. You belong here. And it's your time to shine. So doing all of those things helps us do that.
Very good.
Questions? Anyone?
Well, I mean, it's a whole system for living, is it not? You're doing that, you've got a lot of things happening the right way, whether you speak or not. You might just speak because you're so full of it that you have to.
Yeah.
Don't you?
That's a beautiful place to, when you find that.
Very nice. Thank you. That was good. I got a lot from that, actually, which I will share with you, not necessarily right now. Good.
No problem.
Thank you. That's lovely. Thank you.
And like I said, there is a PDF that I will be finishing putting together over the next few days, and I will email that out to you because you attended as my little help make some of that a little clearer as well and cemented in case you missed anything.